What's going on, YouTube? This is Michael, aka Doggone John, and I haven't done one of these videos in a long while, so I felt the need lately to get one of these out. Just kind of felt inspired to talk a little bit. So this is going to be more of a chatting video, not a EDC knife video or any of that kind of stuff like I usually do. So this is something you can kind of just put on and listen to on your drive home or whatever you want. So I just wanted to do a couple of observations and stuff that I've had, just some I don't know, wisdom, I suppose. And I'm a really young gentleman, pretty much. So I don't think that a lot of this is gonna maybe resonate with you. Some of it maybe will, but uh, you know. Anyways, this is a few things I picked up. So let's just go down through the list. I made some notes because I just had a bunch of stuff in my head lately, and let's give you some context. So lately, I started a new job. My wife and I just bought some property for the first time ever here in Wyoming. Um, and so we're doing a lot with the property, having to build it from the ground up. It was just vacant land. Not a thing was built on it, no utilities or nothing like that the entire time. So the entire existence of the land is all fresh. So we're putting in an address to the property itself. We're putting up a building. We're going to basically homestead the thing. So it's going to be one big homestead for us. And so with that being the case, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And, I was just kind of thinking in my head between my job and what I've been doing to the place, how much, a lot of folks really wouldn't take on some kind of challenge like this. And, that's not a knock at anybody. It's just an observation that, a lot of folks will take that creature comfort and the easy way for a lot of things. And, that's just not the way my wife and I operate personally. We really have a drive, and we have a strong work ethic, and we have, dreams, and we aim to reach them, that kind of thing. So, but I also, there's a few people around me, and I've seen it with the other people in my age group. I'm 29 for reference, but I've seen it a lot where people just they just don't have that ambition. They don't have that drive. They don't care what happens to uh, their life, or what happens in their life, I should say, or how fast they get to it. I think a lot of people growing up, you get that misconception of you kind of are like, well, in school, and and through my friends and stuff, I learned that you you get the job, and you get married, and you have children, and it's happily ever after, right? But there's no for some of us, that kind of explanation was never given, on how to get there, and what it takes to get that kind of life and stuff. So it's been a huge learning curve, not curve, but it's been a learning experience, all the years I put in trying to get to this point. And it's just, it's made me grateful. It's made me, just feel good, I guess, at my strengths, and understanding my weaknesses too, so here's a couple of things I wrote down, at least, though, that drive me, so results are a huge thing to both of us. My wife and I are very result driven people. I think both of us really are just kind of wired that way. I don't know how folks procrastinate and just don't like, that result feeling that you get at the end. To me, that's unmatched. I love to put that work in, and kind of give that all I can, and then to have that final result at the end of it is just fantastic to me. I really thrive off of that, in a lot of ways. So both of us are really result driven people, and that's kind of something that keeps us going every day. Having that dream, and that's important. You want to have something that you're working toward, and I think it's really pivotal to know where you're trying to go. You won't know where the end is if you don't plant that flag. You know what I'm saying? So that's huge for us. uh let's see. I think progress is another thing that people get hung up on too, towards something. It's kind of an issue, it's burnout is basically what it comes down to. But you start trying to head towards something. So let's work off of that first thought I had there about the results. They're number one for me, right? So to have that result, you need to know what you're going for, and you need to progress toward that by having the ambition to go and do that thing. Well, on the way there, you're going to hit a lot of roadblocks. You're going to have a lot of frustration. You know, a lot of the time, if it's worth going for at all, it's going to be really difficult to get. And so I found that, you know, to curve that burnout, you really you have to have that grit and determination to push through it when things are getting really hard, you know. And I only find that through progressing and building it one block at a time, basically. You know, take that one step forward each day. You know, if it's 5%, if it's 1%, if it's 100%, whatever you can give toward it each day. You know, as long as you're heading that way in the right place, it's going to be good. You know, if that makes sense. So I just try to piggyback off of my strengths, and you know, the more that you do that kind of stuff, I think the easier it is the next goal that you have. You know, so it's like you have that experience of like, well, that last project really took me a long time. I hit a lot of roadblocks, but I learned a lot. And the next time I do something, it's gonna turn out better because I, you know, pushed through all that stuff and I was able to get the result I wanted, you know, no matter how long it took. So that's kind of my point with that one, I think. But let's see, what else do I have here? Another thing I really enjoy at my age, at least, is time is on my side, you know. There's a lot of folks, it seems like they just, that's another piggyback off of the progress or the procrastination point is, you know, you only have so much time and you're going to trade that over your lifespan. And once it's out, it's out. There's not, you can't buy it back. You can't uh, do anything to get that time back. You know, you only have so much. So for me, time is crucial. You know, I'm very on things because I know, you know, to put that into perspective, I've only got, you know, X amount of days until my, you know, until I'm too old and I can't do things anymore. I only have so many hours until, I don't know. It's just all about timing, if that makes sense, you know. So I think that is huge for me. Is it's a good motivator when you only have so much time to get things done, and you know you only have so many hours and so many days, and that's not supposed to be a scary thing, you know. It's supposed to be, like I said, a motivator for me. I think it does scare some people where they're afraid to take that jump, maybe. So it's also a frightening thought for them that, you know, I'm running out of time and I haven't gotten anything done. But that can either shut you down or that can give you that strength to push forward. And I think that's what it does for me, at least. So another thing, and this is kind of going off of my channel's main theme, I suppose. I'm real big into, you know, the EDC community and like gear and like tools and all that kind of stuff, skills, being helpful. And that's a huge thing for me, I think, is being a helpful, handy person. You know, I don't want to be that person where if trouble comes my way, I have to call somebody because I can't handle it, you know, or I don't know how to fix it. And I just won't put the effort into doing it to find the problem or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I want to be that person that somebody calls when they need a hand with something or they need help. And to me, that I thrive off of that a lot. You know, I really enjoy helping people. There's no better feeling in the world than giving to somebody else, you know, and in some manner or respect, you know. So if it's just going to help out a neighbor that needs a hand with a project that they're working on, or they just need a hand lifting something, or if it's cooking dinner for your wife, your spouse, whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. I just really enjoy doing that quite a bit. It's something that I've had to work on though over my life. You know, I keep saying you know a lot. I need to stop doing that. I have a short amount of time here, so I'm trying to get my point across. But let's see, where was I at? Well, yeah, so it's something I've struggled with in my life that I've always been more of a receiver, I guess, where kind of just I've just consumed stuff, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. I've consumed more than I've given, and I'm starting to try to really switch that role around and be that kind of person where I'm giving out more to people than I am taking in. So, you know, it just is something you can't really describe until you do it. I think, you know, it's a big feel thing, and I can't recommend it enough. You know, as somebody as young as I am, there's a lot of folks who are really more into the consuming side of stuff than the giving side, and it's kind of a shame because it's just, it comes around in full circle. If you surround yourself with people who have that same mindset as much as you do, then it's a good community to be a part of. You're going to receive, they're going to receive, and that kind of stuff. You know, it's just kind of that concept of your group of people. And that's another thing I wanted to segue into is you know, who you surround yourself with is the biggest thing in the world. I think you know, your friend groups and what their interests are and stuff all will kind of push you in that way. And that's another thing I get off of, you know, the EDC community and the knives and all that stuff that I usually put on my channel here is I have a lot of people who, you know, are also in the same mindset as I am as far as that stuff. And it's really nice and refreshing to have community, you know, on that kind of subject, you know, and be around other helpful people, you know, whether it's just, you know, different things about your home, or if it's, you know, your gear, if it's about family stuff, whatever it is, you know, it's just nice to have community in that sense. You know, I think the age difference too is really nice. I find, you know, there's some younger people that are in the community, and then there's some older folks. And so like all of us sharing the same hobby like that, we kind of are able to give wisdom back and forth, I think, you know, with certain things at least. And it's a good kind of transition or transaction between the two age groups, I think, you know. So, and then I guess I'm going to close on this point right here is that life is mostly about drive, you know. And I think that's kind of been my theme through this whole chat was that if you don't have that drive and that will to get up in the morning and go and, you know, crush your goals and crush your dreams and stuff, then, you know, I don't understand what you're doing. I think that that's the biggest thing for me, you know, is having that drive. I think that question comes up once in a while about the human race. You know, what is the meaning of life? And I think it's just having purpose. I think that's really all it is. And you can tell from deep within, you know, when you, especially when I was talking about that subject of giving than receiving, right? When you're giving to somebody else, you know, you feel good. It makes you feel good. And being helpful and a helpful person, it makes you feel good as well, right? So that's really what it's all about for me. You know, that's my meaning of life right there is giving, being purposeful, helping people, that kind of stuff. You know, that's the end game for me. And you know, that like next building block that I add on every once in a while, it just feels good. Um, for my character development, I suppose you would say, you know, it's like you pick up that new skill or you learn something new and that kind of stuff. And knowing yourself is a big part of that. Uh, you know, I've never self-diagnosed myself or anything, but I have a very focused mind. You know, I get very hyper fixated on stuff. On the same turn, I can also kind of get distracted to some degree. I've honed that in now, and it's not near as a thing. I can pretty much stay on task. But I also need to be flexible about that so that I'm adaptable and I can multitask and that kind of stuff, right? So it's just being a really well-rounded person, and all that stuff really takes time. Uh, it's just it seems like I'm just getting to my golden years here, figuring that kind of stuff out. You know, when you're young, all you're full of is piss and vinegar. You want to go, 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 right? And you'll do anything. You can work the hours you need to do, go out, party all night or whatever, go to work, that kind of stuff, right? But you know, once you settle in, and I feel like that a little bit, you know, I still have that hard drive about stuff and that ambition, but I'm also getting to the point now where it's, I'm starting to understand the back end of life where, you know, you also have to take your time and you have to be mindful of your interactions with others. And, you know, just kind of, as long as you go through that stage of life, those stages of life, those sections where, you know, you're kind of learning all about this part of life, and then you need to move on to the next one. That's good, and that's progress for me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that doesn't make sense, but I'm trying to compartmentalize all this stuff into some kind of coercive. What's the word? It's not coercive, cohesive. Some kind of cohesive talk here, I suppose. But anyways, I'm getting to the point where I'm just rambling a bit. I'm on my lunch break here. I just had some stuff I wanted to talk about. I hope this kind of helped somebody or made sense. And you know, I want this to be a place of discussion. If you have something to add to that, comment down below. Let me know if you like this video and the topic. Like it down below. Let me know. Subscribe if you're interested. Occasionally I do these, but mostly I do like EDC stuff, and I'm gonna start doing some homesteading things here as well, videos. So anyways, that's gonna pretty much wrap it up. Appreciate you hanging out with me. We'll see you guys in the next one. All right.